Hello, thank you for joining us for this last episode of the Boundaries versus Walls series. Today we're going to be talking about parenting and how we can break down walls and establish safe and healthy boundaries between us and our children.
Mm-hmm. This is one of my favorite topics, actually.
Me too.
Because I am geeked out, over the moon, in love with my kids. I've got 4 daughters, and their ages are 5, almost 9. She'll be 9 like next month, and then 13 and 15. How about you, Spring?
I have 2 miracle babies, and they are both girls, and they are almost 4 and almost 7.
It's awesome. Parenting is like the craziest privilege and anxiety producing responsibility. It's like, oh, this little person is counting on me for everything, right? I mean, everything from day one. And so it's like this daunting task to love them well. And discussing boundaries is a massive part of helping them know that they're worth loving, knowing that they're worth protecting and taking care of, and how, honestly, training them how to relate to other people in a loving, meaningful way. So it's a really important conversation.
Yeah, I always say that parenthood is the most rewarding, most difficult gift that you could ever be given.
It is. Like 1 minute with one kid, you're like, yes, I'm an amazing mom. This is my favorite thing ever. And then it could literally be 2 minutes later and you're like, I'm a failure.
Yes,
I'm totally sick. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, exactly.
But boundaries has been a key indicator for me to know, okay, get my arms, my head, my, plan around my view of boundaries so that I can take action on it, no matter how the tornado might be, coming with their world and their brain. And so I think it's one thing that's super important is to say that obviously boundaries are good. We've been talking about this for the series, but for kids, there are a lot of adults out there, typically because they weren't allowed to have boundaries as kids. It wasn't modeled for them. That there are a lot of adults who come to believe children shouldn't have boundaries. And that could not be further from the truth. Children have boundaries from very little ages. Mm-hmm. When they start saying no, that the no phase, that's them learning, no, like, I'm not okay with this. Yes. And that, obviously, we're not going to be like, hold my hand. No, okay, go get crushed by a car. No, like, we're going to protect them. But it's important to see that honoring a kid's boundary is teaching them to be able to say no when they really need to say it to others. An example of something I've seen is, sometimes there are children when they're 2, 3, 4, they start not wanting to, at different times, like, hey, come give me a hug. And they're like, no. And because they're playing, right? And I've seen adults be like, I'm your authority. Come over here. Like, or make her come or make him come. And I remember one time somebody looked at me when one of my children didn't want to, she was busy doing something. And like, aren't you going to make her come hug me? And I was like, no, I'm not, because I'm going to honor her boundaries. And so they're like, children don't have boundaries. And I was like, they do. And we're going to honor them because when she hugs you, it'll be real.
Yes.
And that's what we want to teach our kids, to live fully present, real lives.
And also, I've been in family situations the same way where they wanted to hold my child wanted me. I'm not ever, I don't care if it is a family member or how close you are to my child, I'm never going to force my child to touch or be touched by someone else who they don't want to interact with at that moment.
Right.
That is so important, because I think that, we condition our children for their level of comfort. Mm-hmm. And if we force them to do things that are outside of their comfort zone in an unhealthy way, then that opens up the door for them to eventually lose their voice and feel like their no or their yes is not going to be honored, and that they're just not going to say it. And that's when, things can get really dangerous in their mind. And our responsibility is to teach them from the very beginning that what they say is important,
Mm-hmm.
that they are heard, that they are seen, and that we will respect them as a human and an intelligent little child that they
Yes.
are.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you are in an environment where that's not being respected or being upheld, then it just leads to cycles that can continue on through adulthood.
Yeah. I loved what you said about like how they'll lose their voice or not
Yes.
find their voice.
Yes.
And that really is the purpose of boundaries, right? It's to help our kids realize, hey, you have a voice, I see you. I have a voice, you know, and so
We don't
here's my
wanna be
boundary.
disrespected. Right.
And so teaching them how that dance of loving well, you know, I think it's really helpful to realize that kids, when they start coming against a boundary, right, we want to honor their boundaries. We want to honor healthy boundaries, our healthy boundaries, or family dynamics, or some helping them honor somebody's boundary they don't feel like honoring, that they want to bulldoze through.
Yes.
And to be able to do that is realizing we're going to choose as parents to not be shocked when they start ramming a boundary, right? Because they're very like growth process is them testing things, right?
Yes.
Like hitting the hammer on like, will this break? You know? And for them to know that they're testing, even them, they're trying to figure out their voice, you know, with being dramatic or screaming or angry, feeling big emotions, that we can handle it as parents, that we're a safe landing pad for them to, you know, wrestle with big feelings and wrestle with things, and then know that we're not going to be put out. We're not going to shut them down, but we're also not going to be bullied. It's this dance, right? It's this dance of you're important and I'm important, and we're gonna work it without trying to, you know, overpower.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And dominate.
You know, a lot of times, especially, you know, like people our age who grew up with, you know, the parents who are like, because I said so, that's why. You know, well, but why? And, you know, we want to know, but why is that the way it is? Well, you know, you grow up and you learn to respect your authority, and you absolutely do honor your parents or whoever your, you know, your guardian is. But I think that it's healthy for us to express why we do or do not do something so that they can learn, oh, okay, 9 times out of 10 they're probably going to be like, okay, if they understand that there's a reason why we do or do not do something, or why this boundary is established. But when it's just, you know, well, because I said so, that's not really a fair exchange of, you know, comfort. And we want to provide our children with a safe environment. We want to be that safe person, like you said, the landing pad. We want them to come to us when they're upset. We want them to be who they run to, you know, so that we can comfort them. We're the ones who know their hearts more than anybody. So we want to be the one,
and who are more for them than anybody.
Exactly. And we want to always remind them of that. And you know, my daughter, she's almost 7, and she's extremely sensitive, and she'll hold it together all day at school, but then when she comes home, it's like she feels safe to let all of her guards down. And you know, we work through a lot of big emotions because all of her emotions are big. So you know, we have to talk through everything. And from the moment she was able to talk, I have always encouraged her to be open and tell mommy what she feels, be open. You know, a lot of times kids, they don't feel heard because they aren't given the opportunity, because it's because I said so. And that's, you know, that whatever you establish in the beginning is what they carry on, and then that goes generationally afterwards. And so we want to make sure that we're raising up, you know, leaders and bold people who aren't afraid to speak their mind and do it respectfully
and to honor others.
Absolutely.
Right, to have boundaries and honor boundaries.
Absolutely.
So in wrapping up, one of the things we want to encourage you, like maybe you're like, oh my gosh, my kids are already at this certain age, I really wish that I would have, you know, thought through this, had the plan. Like, it's not too late.
No,
it's not too late. But one of the most beautiful, liberating gifts you can give your child is to own a growth opportunity.
Yeah.
Go to them and say, I blew it here. Here's what I'm learning about boundaries. I want to share with you, and I want to know what your boundaries are. Hey, I'm self-discovering. Here's a new boundary of mine. That is the biggest gift you can give your kids.
Absolutely.
It's not to be perfect. It's not to have it all figured out before you start having kids. It's to grow
Yes.
with them and to model growth for them. So enjoy having boundaries, honoring boundaries, celebrating boundaries, and we're just want to step into, we're all in a growth continuum. We're all like,
absolutely.
we need to figure that out. And so we bless you and your growth continuum. Our next series
is survival mode versus thrival mode.
Woohoo!
That's
all
gonna
right,
be
y'all.
a big one.
It's gonna be fun. So we'll catch you later. Bye.
Bye.